You know, this Detroit versus everybody is a real thing. And you know that all the calls, all the years of calls against the Detroit Lions helping Aaron Rodgers win. I just heard something as a trade proposal. Hey, look at the kitty cat. This is Maribel. That she wants to go to sleep. It's 3 a.m. I get it. No claws, no claws. She's a Bengal calico. She's got a little heart on her head, if you can see that. But I seen on ESPN uh, the Tanner guy or whatever, three trade scenarios. And when he mentioned the Lions for Micah Parsons, he said he suggested Brian Branch, a number one pick, and a second round pick for Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is a great football player. He's a disruptor. But he's arguing about money right now. Meanwhile, Branch, in his very first game against Kansas City, the Super Bowl champions, picked it off and went to the house. Seemed like in 3 seconds he covered 40 yards. That was incredible. Now, if you look at the topics, Detroit versus everybody, I was watching a documentary of Yao Ming, great basketball player, great guy. Should check that out. It's a story where his mother uh, was uh, didn't make it as a basketball player. That the Soviet uh, or the Chinese uh, government made her have a child with his dad. They didn't even know each other. Made them have a child, aka Yao Ming. And at 14 years old, they were forcing him to practice 10 hours a day. 10 hours. Meanwhile, uh, when he played in international play, his uh, his numbers weren't better than what Bill Laimbeer's was in Italy. And unfortunately for Yao Ming, he had tons of foot problems like Bill Walton did, and had a very short career. Another, you got Yao Ming, Bill Walton, and Ralph Sampson. All three of those centers had very short NBA careers, always injury prone, and uh, they had potential, and they were great uh, basketball players. And Bill Walton had a phenomenal college career, so it's Basketball Hall of Fame. Just remember that. And it's a totality of that. So I see why Bill Walton's in. I get that, but he had a very short NBA career. I'm going to rattle off the resume of Bill Laimbeer, and I just saw an incredible statistic that I post about John Stockton. John Stockton played over 1,600 games and only missed 22 of those. That's incredible, John. That is awesome. And he was a very effective player. He was not just a guy that just showed up. He was the guy that handled the ball. And unfortunately for him and Karl Malone, there's a team that went 99% of the time to the finals. When Stockton and Malone was in their primes, they they couldn't get past the Lakers. I mean, and very few people could. They seemed like the Lakers could get to the finals very easy. Um, they made it look easy. They had great defensive players. A lot of people see the Showtime, but they had Michael Cooper, James Worthy. They had some quick defenders. Okay, but Stockton had a great career, and it showed that he only missed 22 games. And I had to answer to that. That's impressive. But so was Bill Laimbeer's. Bill Laimbeer if you look at his resume, he has a high school championship, which a lot of NBA players do. Um, he went to the Final Four. Not everybody can say that. He didn't win the title like Bill Walton and a lot of other people have, but he made it to the Final Four. Before entering in the NBA, a lot of people don't know this, but he played 1 year in Italy before going to the Cleveland Cavaliers, where he averaged 22 points and 14 rebounds. I mentioned that maybe the league he played in was not quite the NBA, but it was still professional basketball. And a lot of people like Dražan Petrovic, once again, didn't have a long career here. Unfortunately, he was killed in an automobile accident way early. But he's in the Hall of Fame because of his great uh, career before coming in the NBA. So you add 1 year, 22 points, 14 rebounds. That's definitely not shabby, and that rivals anything that Yao Ming did over there in the Chinese league. So he comes to the NBA, goes to Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pistons, before they got Isiah Thomas, was one of the worst teams. Obviously, they had the number 2 pick, and they were up. They were slowly going up with Isiah, and the Pistons were beating the Cavaliers by 20 points. Jack McCloskey saw the hardest working guy on the court was Bill Laimbeer. So he made a Trader Jack went out and got him. That was a huge. Um, the two biggest contributors, in my opinion, to the Pistons' success was number one, Isiah. And without a doubt, Isiah was the superstar that that pushed us where we needed to go. But in his own right, Bill Laimbeer was a coach on the court. And if you think about this, you look at all the front lines he had to deal with: Parrish, McHale, and Bird. And don't forget Cedric Maxwell. There's four big front linemen you have to deal with. And then you look back at Utah when they were in their prime. At Karl Malone, they had 7'4", 300-pound Mark Eaton, the late great Mark Eaton. And I mean, he dealt with all this. So going back to Stockton's great, and they called him an Iron Man, which he was. I mean, 1,600 games, only missing 22. That's incredible, folks. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you are a role player. But Stockton was much, much more than that. Um, he was a great player. Um, wasn't a superstar like Isiah, but he was a great player, a very solid player. And you look at Bill Laimbeer, he only missed 9 games his whole career. He had 685 games straight in a row where he didn't miss a game. And the only reason why that streak was stopped was he retaliated and punched Brad Doherty. Both him and Brad got a 1-game suspension. By the time Bill Laimbeer retired, he was only one of 12 players at that moment that have at least 10,000 points and 10,000 rebounds. He has more points and more rebounds than Willis Reed, who deserves to be in and is in. Okay. Total basketball, you got high school title, college, and you have a rebounding championship when Moses Malone was ripping down all the rebounds. There's another guy Laimbeer had to deal with. One night after another, there's Bob Lanier, the ex-Piston, that was with the Bucks. Man, the Bucks had a team. There were so many great teams that couldn't win a title because the Celtics and the Lakers were going every year, and then the Pistons were the only team that could break through to the Celtics for a while. Then we had a run, we got old, then you know the story after that. Bill Laimbeer, to this day, there's been over 4,800 players that play the game, and he is only one of 38 that has at least 10,000 points and 10,000 rebounds. How many people can bring up a stat like that? The guy hit 6 3-pointers in a finals game. He shot well over 80% at the free throw line. His best year at 89%. That rivals the best of the best. Clutch free throw shooter. Set picks. He didn't play around with the basketball like you see a lot of these guys do, and the little guys steal the ball from him. He grabbed the ball, he threw it halfway down the court, got the fast break going with perfect outlet passes. Set picks. And just his NBA career, I believe, warrants him to be in the Hall of Fame. When you at his high school, when you're in Italy, and in the Final Four appearance, it's even more convincing. He's the only starting center that can boast that he has a winning playoff record against Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird. Think about that for a second. Think about that. Only missed 9 games. And there's video footage if you wish to watch it on YouTube. I have it posted on my Pistons channel somewhere here. You can find it there. Somebody else obviously posted it, but I found it and put it in the category of the Pistons. Bill Laimbeer scored 25 points against Shaquille O'Neal. And Laimbeer wasn't he wasn't option 1, 2, or 3 on he was an afterthought for the offense. He kind of, and most of his shots were outside shots, and he has a bit better field goal percentage than Michael Jordan does for his career. Can you imagine that? Where Jordan dunked a lot. I mean, Laimbeer put some putbacks in here and there, but for the most part, he was popping out, doing the pick and pop out there with Isiah. So Detroit versus everybody. Why isn't Bill Laimbeer in the Hall of Fame? I believe it's because the same reason Isiah Thomas was left off the Dream Team. In the roughest era in basketball history, there's nobody can deny that. Watch any game. It didn't have to be Detroit and Boston. It didn't have to be Detroit and Chicago. It could be Utah and San Antonio or Utah and Houston. It could be any combination of the teams back then. You had Rick Mahorn was, before he came to the Pistons, he was beating people up with Jeff Ruland. No matter where you turn. I mean, Kermit Washington got banned from basketball because he popped Rudy Tomjanovich. Kareem punched Kent Benson. There's all types of rough play that played in. And what did the Pistons do? They stood up and they played rough. So did the rest of the league.